I did have a last question. I had Dr. Eric Helms on, and we had a conversation about many things, but we did end up talking about peptides. And obviously, it's been hot for a minute. And he was, along the lines of there's very limited research in humans, and if there is, it's not the most trustworthy evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing more people use it, and obviously what we're currently doing, like the stats in Australia aren't very good. Recently a report came out where 2/3 of Australians are overweight. 1/4 of Australian children are obese, and now what was it? Being overweight is like a greater reason for poor health and death than smoking is. So like what we're doing isn't working. And then obviously these are coming to market where a lot of people are saying, this is a solution for people that don't necessarily want to train. They just kind of like want a quicker fix, and it's a start to get their foot in the door, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that, they can be the solution for that in people? And what's your overall opinion on it? I know it's very open. I don't really like saying, what's your opinion on this? Because, like people will put in your DMs, thoughts on peptides. You're like, for what? For who? Blah, 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 blah. So
Yeah.
I don't really like it, but, I've kind of tried to paint the picture for you.
So with peptides, first thing to differentiate between is the peptides that most people now talk about, like VPC and the growth hormone boosters, and other peptide drugs like GLP-1 agonists, which are completely legit and are now evidence-based, and they are revolutionary and they have boomed for a reason. So these drugs, yes, they can actually help curb the obesity pandemic, and they are already doing that. They're extremely effective, but they're not a solution in the sense that they just lower your appetite. Now, you can just stay on them for life and then you have a lower appetite for life. But diet quality still really matters. And now there's increasing attention to muscle mass because many of these people, they start eating the same crappy diet, but now less of it. So they have lower protein intakes and they already weren't exercising, and they now end up with very low levels of muscle mass. So the next pandemic, low levels of muscle mass. That's happening, and there are now a lot of drugs on the way as well to try to combat that. Regardless, for most individuals that do not want to be on a GLP-1 agonist for life, the other peptide drugs are not the solution, almost for sure. Like all the growth hormone boosters, at best, they will do what growth hormone does. We know what growth hormone does. It helps a tiny little bit with fat loss, but it also increases mortality and it decreases longevity. Growth hormone levels are strongly negatively tied to longevity. I don't know where this idea originally came from, that growth hormone is like some longevity booster, but research is very clearly the other way around. Growth hormone is like running your engine at a higher level. So it's just like with a car, you're running the engine at a high level all the time, it's going to burn out faster. And that's what happens when you add growth hormone. It doesn't even add muscle growth either. It's the most counterintuitive name ever, growth hormone, but growth hormone is not anabolic in human muscle tissue. At least not unless you pair it with immense doses of insulin and anabolics. Maybe there's some interaction there in bodybuilders, and anecdotally there seems to be, but in a normal individual, if you just add their growth hormone, increase their growth hormone levels, yes, they gain lean body mass, but it's not in actual contractile muscle tissue. So it's mostly water. They get bigger bones and stuff, and if you add a lot for a long period of time, you actually get like bigger face and bigger organs and a lot of other stuff that you probably don't want to grow. Mm. So growth hormone is like, for me, it's not even that interesting because the ceiling effect that you could get, we know exactly what it is. Like a peptide that boosts growth hormone levels, the perfect end result would be actually boosting your growth hormone levels, but that's not what most people need anyway. Now the BPC and the like, where it adds body protection compounds, it's supposed to be good for recovery. Those types of peptides, there are a couple of those. There is zero high quality human research on that. It's not like a few, it's not like one study, there's zero high quality. It's like, people will say, there's this one retrospective study. It's like from 1980s where they look back on 3 people without a control group or something. It's like, that's not a study. That's basically just trust me, bro. So it's almost all anecdotal. And we also know that there's a very high degree of fraud. So lots of the stuff that you buy online is fake because the regulation is kind of iffy, and many of those labs, they sell it for like veterinary or research purposes. And then you're not getting a pharmaceutical grade, regulated, quality tested drug. So you're injecting something where you don't really know exactly for sure what it is. And you also don't know exactly what it does. So you're just going by the other people that have tried this and they said something about it, but you also don't know exactly what they injected. So it's a very, you're a guinea pig. And bodybuilders love being guinea pigs. They're always the first to try all of this stuff. It was the same with a lot of anabolics in the UK and the smart anabolics and the stuff that was supposed to be the SARMs were supposed to be steroids without the side effects. Didn't work. But I've seen so many of these drugs come and go and supplements, and I kind of put them in the same category. And there's a lot of hype, and then at some point you're like, this has to work, right? Because there's so much hype around it. 10 years later, nobody even knows it exists anymore. So I fear that's the same, and the risks are higher with the peptides. Now, maybe some of the stuff works, and who knows, there's a slim chance that some of the stuff actually works as advertised. But for me, I would always say, wait until we have good human data to know that it works, and maybe then inject it into your body. But before that, I really cannot recommend it. I also can't fault somebody for trying it. It's your body, but I can't recommend it as an evidence-based professional.
Yeah, I've had a few emails from companies trying to get me to sponsor it as well, because, I have a following and all that kind of stuff, which, makes it even worse. Obviously when you have a following and you see these emails coming through, you know exactly why people are promoting it all of a sudden. Or there are coaches now that are now biohackers. Like I saw a coach who doesn't have the greatest knowledge anyway, who like literally put biohacker in his bio now. Like nothing has changed about him. And well, I don't like that word anyway, but now he's that. And he's pushing on top of his coaching, this peptide, blah, blah, blah. Click on the link to this and that. And people are like, where are you getting it from? And it's this company. And then obviously they have a following, they're bought followers. But anyway, it's really dangerous for people that can't see it because, obviously you and I can see a little bit under the hood. I'm sure you get emails like this, or maybe less because you're kind of less front facing. But those emails do come in and they're like, do you want to push this? Give you a discount code, you get this much back and blah, 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 blah. It just becomes really dangerous online. And also what's problematic about this, I've found, is that in the comment sections of these people that are talking about peptides, like BPC 157, there's so many anecdotal stories where they're like, I have my libido back. Or they're like, I didn't need surgery. I took BPC 157. Now my ankle's better. I can't believe it. I can finally walk without pain. And you see them, they're all so convincing. And yes, they might be working. It definitely could work. There could be an element of placebo. Maybe they actually worked, but then we don't really know what's going under the hood 100% as well, or what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years or 20 years, but no one cares about that. They're just reading the comments and going, well, this is really convincing. And my favorite influencer's talking about it, and I get 20% off.
So with the comments, I think an antidote that works for me is go to any carnivore proponent, read the comments. You'll see there are people saying, oh my God, it's cured my autoimmune condition. I'm leaner than ever. This is the best. I get my libido back. Go to a vegan influencer, read the comments. You'll see people saying, it's cured my autoimmune condition. I'm leaner than ever. My libido is back. Go to a high carb proponent. They'll say like, oh, I tried high carb diet, more energy than ever. Mental focus is sharp. Performance is better than ever. Now go to a keto proponent. You'll see the comments. More mental energy than ever. Feeling super sharp. Performance is better than ever. So that's the thing with the anecdotes, right? Like there's such a big mental component. Most people don't actually really measure what their outcome is. They think it's going to work. They try it. And some of them are already literally writing about how good it is before they've really tried it or measured the results. I've seen it in some coaching clients too. Like the first week of the program, they're like, this is amazing. This is awesome. And I'm like, good, to keep that mindset, but you don't actually know if it's working.
Yeah. That's the danger of social media once again.